what's up guys, back again with another video. This episode we're going to be going over how to use the basic form elements inside HTML. Um, yeah, so there's actually a ton of things you could do with this, and I'm not going to go over everything, but I'm going to try and go as detailed as possible, and I'll leave links in the description where you can check out more stuff if you want to. But yeah, this will be the first part of this, of a little two-part little episode thingy. So yeah, this first part will be kind of easy, but you're going to be learning some kind of new stuff with a bunch of attributes and stuff like that. So let's just get right into it. So with forms, you can have users go on your website and submit a bunch of data, like type in stuff and select stuff and, a form, and then they can submit it, and that data goes into maybe a database, like another web page, and with some server stuff, which is kind of complex for HTML because you wouldn't use HTML to handle all that information. But we can do the front end part of this by making a form, by making the layout of the form, and it's hard to explain, so might as well just show you. So let's go ahead. So to make a form, you have to cover everything within the form element. So everything will be inside of here, so form. So we're going to make this pretty big because, like I said, everything's going to be inside of there. And then within this, you have a couple attributes that you can have. So first, you can have the action attribute, which is something you actually have to have if you're going to be using a form. And inside of here, you would have a URL for a web page that you want to submit the form data to. So it's going to receive the information, it's going to process it and do whatever it needs to do, and all that complex stuff. So we're not going to go over that, of course, because that's kind of crazy complex and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you put like a URL in here, and yeah, so we can do like, we'll just put something random in here, so HTTP www example. Okay, so maybe it'd be like a PHP, something like that. So yeah, just the URL, and we're not going to go over exactly how that works. And then you have to have another one, and within this method attribute, you can have two options, either have get or post. What get does is it takes the values of the form that you just received from when they filled it out, and it's going to send it and add it onto this URL basically, and then the server is going to process them that way, I guess you could say. And then you have post, which is a thingy that sends them within HTTP headers and just a whole bunch of crap like that. And yeah, I don't know too much about it. Well, I do, but I'm not going to explain it. I don't really know the details of all of it, so it doesn't really matter. So we're just going to use get, it doesn't matter. And so now we can get into the juicy part that actually matters, which is the HTML elements that we can have inside of our forms, which is really cool. So right off the bat, we can have like a regular text input. Maybe they want to input like their username for like a sign-in form or something like that. You never know. It could be anything, right? So to make one of those, you could do maybe, well, not maybe. You'd do this. You'd use the input element here. So input, and then it's a self-closing element. So you just do that. And then you can have some attributes here, and you have to have some. So first, we have to give it a type of text. There's a bunch of different types of input elements. So to specify one of these right here, you use text. And what this will allow you to do is input some simple text, okay? Something not too long, because it's not that big. So maybe like a username or something like that, right? And so that's how we do that. And then another one we could give it is maybe a name. And the name is an attribute that's that you can reference the data with, basically. So when you send the data of this, whatever you put in here, right? Let's say we type something in here. This will now be associated with whatever name I put in here. So whenever we want to access inside the database, I guess we can access it through this name. So it doesn't really matter, but just know that each input field has to have a unique name, okay? So we'll call this one username, okay? And yeah, so that's what that is. And then we can maybe, let's say we want to have a thing here. So let's just do it like this. So we can have a P here, username. So now let this reload, and now it has username here. And for some reason it's not on the same line. So how do we get on the same line? Okay. So to get on the same line, we could just like put it inside of here. That works. So we can put the input inside of the P thing. So that works like that. So now it's all on the same line. And here are some of my cringy usernames that I have. And so yeah, it recognizes that this is a username box or a box where you can type stuff like that. And basically what it did, how does it know to have all these suggestions here if I've never actually done this? Well, other websites probably use the name of username right here just like I just did. So Google goes in and says, oh, okay, so you're using the same name as another input box on another website, so we can suggest the ones that you've used before. And so that's really helpful. So yeah, that's just a quick little fact. And so yeah, so another thing we can do maybe whenever we make these input boxes is change the size of it. And usually sometimes you might want to make it so, well, just right off the bat, you have to know that this whole space here, this is enough for 20 characters, okay? So 20 letters or spaces or anything like that on your keyboard. And we can change the size of this to maybe like 30 or something like that. And you do that with the size attribute. So we could do size and have something like 30 in here, or 300 maybe. And this makes it huge, right? So it could fit 300 characters. But it's not recommended to use that whenever you're doing this. It's recommended to use CSS to change the width of it and all that kind of stuff. So normally you wouldn't do that. But the one that you could use, which is perfectly allowed, well, size is allowed too, but you would want to use this one more because you can limit the number of characters that you can have in here. So that could be a little maybe important if you want it to. So we can limit it to 20 characters if you want to. So this whole box will account for 20 characters, no more than that. So yeah, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Pretty simple. So even though we can do like a username input, we can actually do a password input, which is a special kind of input, and that would be a type password. So let's go ahead and do that. So p password. So this is just like something you would see on like a common website, where you log in and stuff like that. So the input, we can make a special input here, like I said, and we could call, and we give it a type of password. And I'll show you what that does in a second, once I can figure out how to type like a normal human being. So yeah, so I typed it out, it's reloaded, and watch what happens when we type in here because it's a type password. It blocks it out. That's pretty cool, huh? And then Google also recognizes that you're using a password here, so it says save your password. So that's really cool right off the bat. So let's say I try and do this here. Oh wait, never mind. Whatever. But maybe if I do this, let's try and change this name to password. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, we give it the type of password, and then whenever we type in there, it blocks it out because obviously you don't want people to see your password, right? And then if we also have to give it a name of password so that you can reference it like we did before. Like I said, every input has to have a unique name to it, so then your form could access it and stuff like that, access the data and all that cool stuff. So yeah, so likewise we can change the size and the max length attributes of this input here, because these are both basically the same thing. Let's be honest. So yeah, that's what you can do with that. Pretty cool. And then next one we have is kind of cool. It's for, let's say you want to have a lot more text than just this small little box here. You can do a big one. So text area, and then you inside of here you could have maybe you can have some words that are already in there. Well, first let's look at this. You can have a lot more stuff, and watch what happens if you go over the limit. It actually grows the box, sort of. You would have to scroll up a little bit. It's kind of weird in the sizing, but we can expand it if we want to manually, which is a really cool feature. But let's say we don't expand it. We can actually make this bigger by using CSS or styling to make the width bigger and all that cool kind of stuff. Or we can use attributes for that also. So before I show you that, let's see what happens. Well, let's reload here. So it's empty now. See what happens when we type between this. Default stuff. So now when we load here, it's going to put all that inside of here. So that's cool. You can make default stuff in here. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so if we want to change the sizing, we could do column. So this will be the height basically. So columns, right? Or no, the width, I think. Let's test it out. So 30. Oh, it's columns. C-O-L-S. C-O-L-S. So yeah, if we reload here, nothing will happen. Oh yeah, so I think the default's 30. That's why I didn't expand. So yeah, so we put 300. It's gonna get really big, and then likewise we could do rows. Yeah, rows. So that will be up and down because that's how rows work. So we could do like 40 if you want to, and oh, rows, not row. Derp. Okay, so there we go. It gets much bigger. So anyway, that's how you grow the sizing of it. But again, it's recommended that you use CSS to do this, but you can do this if you want to. It's all your choice. And then likewise, we need to give it a name because that's what you're supposed to do. So let's give it a name of sentence or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much. And so next we can have what's called a radio button, which is basically like a I don't know what to call it, but it's like a where you select a bunch of options, you know. So anyway, let's just make it so we can do input here. So input, and that's self-closing, of course. And then we can give it a type of radio, okay? And what radio will do will allow you to have different options, like I said. So to create option one, number one here, we can give it a type here, and then right after that we can give it a name. So look here, we have a we have a thingy, I don't know what to call it, but yeah. So we can select something, but it doesn't have any values next to it, so we can put a value of like bear. So now we get bear, and this is on the side, so let's make it go down one line, so it's not like all together and stuff. So now it's on the line there, and yeah, so we have bear, and let's say we want to add another input option, so we could do this again, input. And we can give it a type of, oh yeah, give it a type of radio also. I don't know what that huge error is, that's weird. Whoa, that's big. Okay, and then we can give it a snake maybe, if you want to. So we get snake, and then there we go. So we can select both of them, but so yeah, that's how we do that. And let's add just one more, so let's just copy this here. Call it snake 2 or something like that. So now what you would want to do is maybe give them a name, and this will allow them to be all linked together. If one or more or two or more input types of radio have the same name attribute, that means they're linked together, and that means you can only select one at a time. So you look as of current, we can only select, or we can select more than one. But let's link them together and see what happens. So we have to give them the same name, like I said. So we'll call it um, animals. So that's their common name. So we'll just copy this attribute here. And right there. Okay, so now they have all the same name, right? So that means, look, we can only select one at a time. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so if we can do that, we can also give them values. So this name here is actually, it doesn't matter what this is, but you have to give them actually value attributes. So whenever you submit this form to the server, these are the values that you're submitting, this value here. So the value attribute indicates the value that is sent to the server for the selected option. This is totally unrelated to this, although they should be the same name because this is the value that you're selecting, So you'd put snake2 in here usually. That's usually what you would want to do, is give the value attribute the same value as the thing outside. So now whenever you send this to the server, before, when it didn't have the value option, it would just be blank, but now it knows that it's snake2. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, so we would give them all values. I'm not going to do that because I'm lazy, but yeah. So this one would get a value of snake, and this one get a value of bear. So like that. There's something really cool we can do is see when we load the page for when we load the page, none of them are selected. We can actually make it so one of them is selected by default. So to do that, you would give them a value checked. So checked, and then inside of here checked. So this one will just check it. There we go. So now it's checked. So that's pretty simple. And so that's it with that. So now we have basically the same thing. This one is called checkbox, and it's all the same thing. We're just making a bunch of these types of things, but we're giving them the type of checkbox instead of radio. So we'll give them checkbox. We'll just change them instead of making a whole new set. Actually, no. We'll just copy this whole thing here. We'll paste it here. And so we have two of these here. So we'll make it on a new line, of course. That's what BR does. So now it's on a new line, see? And then we can give them a bunch of names. So we'll call it dolphin. And we'll call it bird. And we'll call it whale. Okay, so now they all have unique names. And so we're going to get rid of this checked thingy. Actually, no, we'll keep it. It's fine. And so let's change them all to checked checkbox now. So checkbox. So now instead of these option thingies, they look like checkboxes. Well, this one will at first. So now we can give them check marks and stuff like that instead of these little circle thingies. So yeah, that's how we do that. And yeah. So as you can see, they're all still linked because I didn't actually change the name of all of them yet. But yeah, if you change the name of all these three to be different from these, then they won't be linked anymore. So you can select more than one. But anyway, so that's how you do that. So instead of radio, we do checkbox. Same thing basically. And so the next thing we could do is called drop downs. You know what a drop down is, hopefully. So yeah, we can make a drop down by doing select here. So select, and then within select, we can give it a name. Of course, we have to give everything a name, and we'll call this one computers. Okay. And within computers, we can have different options. So we have option here. So option will be the first one. We'll give it an option value of Windows. So we'll say Windows. Oops. Oh my gosh, I cannot type. Okay, and so the next option will be Mac. And the next one will be Linux. Okay. There we go. So yeah, that's a lot, but oh yeah, first let's make this on a new line. And so now we have a drop down here, so we can, select options here. That's pretty cool. And yeah, so that's how we do that. And then of course we can use the selected option, which is basically the same as checked. Sorry for my burp. But select, and then you have selected in here again. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh no. Oh, forgot to close it. There we go. Let's reload here. So now this one's blank for some reason. Oh, I accidentally got rid of it. Man, I am bad. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. What was the last one I chose? Oh, Linux. Right. So we're just fixing that. And now, Linux is default selected. So that's what that did. And then each of them has the value, of course. I accidentally got rid of it. But yeah. So the value would just send Mac to the server, Linux to the server, and Windows to the server. Oh, I still have it. Okay. But anyway, that's what that does. So the last thing that we could do here, well, not the last thing, but almost the last thing, is the file input, which is really cool. You can actually allow them to upload files and stuff. So we can do input here, and we give it a type of file, and look what happens. So they can now, let's make this on a new file, line. So yeah, they can click this, and they can choose files from their computer and upload them. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then we can likewise maybe give it we have to give it a name, of course. Well, let's just give it a name of like song or something like that if they want to upload like an MP3 or something like that maybe. And we can give them an upload button if we want to. But we're not going to learn about buttons until actually right now. So let's say we finish this whole form, right? We added all this crap and they fill out everything, right? They type everything in, select everything, upload their file. How do we submit it? Well, you would actually have a button. Oops. You actually have a button at the bottom of your file usually, and give it a type of submit, and this will submit everything in the form. And yeah, so we'll make a button here. So we'll call it. It's actually input, and then the input self-closing, of course. And we get a type of submit. Holy crap! I'm sick of this. I cannot type. Okay, so submit here. We can just give it a name of, actually it doesn't need a name, there's no point in having a name, it's just a button. And yeah, so we can give it a value of, we'll give it a value of submit. So this will just make the name here, and once we click this, it'll submit the form. And then as you can see up here, it actually did exactly that. It puts everything inside, well I told you it would do, it puts all the values and their data up here in the form that you're submitting it to. So it's hard to explain, but yeah. So basically it submitted everything, so it's really cool. So I know that was a lot and I kind of rushed through it. Not really, but I'm just bad at explaining. I went kind of fast, but hopefully it made sense. I'll put a link in the description where you can check out more detailed stuff if you want to. Next episode we're going to be learning about different types of input, a couple more stuff. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll help you. We also have a Discord that's in the description if you want to join that and ask some questions or talk to us or anything like that. And yeah, so if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and peace.